Okay, I thought I'd make me a little video today showing my progress on this Auto World slot car track. This has been my winter project and it's been taking a while, but it's going along. I finally got the track to where it's running good. Auto World doesn't have the best reputation for track, evidently, and this was made out of the California cruising set, and it's the same layouts on the back of the box, with the exception of I added a 3-inch piece right here to move this curve further out, give me just a little bit more track. It does go underneath this main overpass here just a little bit. That's going to create some problems whenever I go to do the scenery. It's going to be a scenic track. I'm building buildings for it. Just taking my time, finding stuff that looks good to me, and that's how we'll proceed. So there's been some problems with this track that I'd like to illustrate real quick. Initially I had a lot of problems with these little pieces right here all lining up. There were big bumps going across, so when the cars would hit it, they'd jump off the track. And let's see if I can get this right here. What I had to do was come in here and trim all these little edges right here. Make them nice and a little bit shorter. And these tabs, if we can get the picture right here, I shaved down that tab a little bit. And over here on the track, that tab is right here. Right here. It moves up and down. And I found that that was creating a bump that was causing problems with the cars. So by shaving all these little pieces off across here, I was able to get this to run nice and smooth. The rails connect well. There wasn't a problem with the rails, but that was an issue to look for. I'm going to paint this track, so I've screwed it down and filled in the holes where the screws are. The Auto World track has holes in it right there that you can drill. You need to countersink them. And here's one that's already done. It's hard to see. I pulled that squeeze track out of there. That was causing a problem. I couldn't get it to run smooth. So that's why there's putty in that hole. But countersink those screws into that plastic. I'll drill a little pilot hole down in this hole right here, 1/16 of an inch, right in the middle. Flip the track over, and using my countersink bit on a drill, very carefully countersink that where the screw will go in the hole, and then I've puttied it in and lightly sanded it smooth. It's 400 grit paper that I used for that. Underneath the track, because over here we have a raised section, I used a piece of this just paneling stuff at Lowe's. It's nice shiny white on one side, this kind of fiberboard on the other. Made a nice smooth transition here for my overpass. And coming back down, you can see how nice and smooth that is. I noticed that the Auto World cross piece here was bent from the factory. People have been complaining about it online. It worked out for me because once I screwed these down, this side was up just enough for this bank right here to come down and make smooth. So that worked out really well for me. I've had a problem here inside of this groove. Let's see if we can get that. There it is. That little rail right there, that little rail right there that's inside the slot is too high. And when the cars come across it, they hit that and they jump out of the track. So filing that down inside of that groove without widening the groove is important to making this work good. So that's about it. I screwed this down. I didn't glue it down or nail it down. I screwed it down so I can come back in later and remove sections if I need to. It's done wider than the track because that's how I'm going to make my scenery up. Later on I will I'll raise this with another piece of wood to be slightly higher than the track. So any scenery, you know, I have curbs and things like that going in smoothly versus having this big, large, quarter-inch height of the track, whatever it is, showing. So that's kind of the plan. That's what I've done. I'm getting ready to paint this. So there's a mold release from the factory on this track I had to remove. Make sure we get some good adhesion. What to paint it with has been, I've seen everything online from house paint to porch paint to anything. And I've decided I'm going to use this Tamiya lacquer. Lacquer bites down into the plastic pretty good. I don't have that luck with acrylics. It's just water-based paint, just doesn't eat in like the others do. So that's my plan to do that. Right now, I've cleaned the track. I cleaned it off with lacquer thinner first, just so, you know, pull out the oils, and ran over it with alcohol, rubbing alcohol, to kind of remove all residue that I could. And I'm going to go in here later, tape off this rail and this rail, and I'm going to paint this center section first to see how smooth my putty is right here. And if I have any spots that I can still see the putty, I'll go back and repair that and fix it so it's nice and smooth. So hopefully we won't see this when the track's done. Obviously I'm going to leave these slots here. I've seen people gluing these track sections down and filling these things in. It may look nice at first, but that's going to crack out. I learned from trains, expansion and contraction of these joints due to the humidity and temperature differences is important. It'll really mess your track up. So I screwed this track down. These number 4 screws are absolutely perfect for fitting in those holes. I used the small 1/2 inch on the raised sections and the 3/4 on these flat sections here where it touched the plywood, so it'd go down in and hold tight to that plywood. Another thing that I've done is there is no terminal track here. That big square terminal piece, I don't even have it in here anymore to show, where the controllers plug in, that's gone. So what we've done is I've made a little temporary panel. This is all temporary here, just so I can run the track with banana plugs. Let's see if I can get down here real quick. Gone to a different power supply. I think they're like $60 on Amazon. It's worked out real good for me for plating and things like that so far, but I'm repurposing it for the slot car track. So by getting rid of the terminal plugs up top, there we go, I can barely see that. I had to go in and remove small sections of that plastic up under there on that track and solder my wires in. And I made a straight run from there over to, there it is. That's about 6-inch run where I drilled those holes for strain relief. And then of course over here it went through the wood, and this is all temporary really at this point. We've got a junction block here which runs each side of the track and comes over here to hook onto this, which is going to be changed up to something a lot nicer later. That's where I plug in the controllers. And then I had to take the controllers, clip that factory plug off, and put my banana plugs in. And I can modify up to 3-wire if I want. I can do whatever I want at this point. I'm not limited. So that's been nice. I only have one power supply right now, so I'm having to switch between inside and outside track, which is kind of a pain, but it's just me getting around to ordering it type thing. So that's what we've done with this track so far. It's not pretty right now, but it will be. Once this track's painted and everything proves to be working properly, then I can start the scenery. And I'll start by building right here, putting up a little thin piece of wood on the side so I can get my scenery built up to it. And then that'll be followed over by something a little bit nicer. Might have a backdrop in there or something, kind of keep the cars on the track. But that's where I'm at with this. It's been a long process getting this far. And there's just some things here that I've found that I had to really search for on the internet. So I thought I'd just put it in one spot. YouTube's been really good, but of course with YouTube everybody has an opinion, and so you try 10 things and only one works. But that's what's worked for me. And a lot of people are talking about how to get this ugly paint off of this track. I've tried the easy off, that didn't work. It moved a little bit of this paint off. The lacquer thinner really started to take it off, but I think it was also kind of removing some of the plastic too. So there's little bumps all over this track for traction, and try not to mess that up. Keeping the track where the cars will grip is a big concern of mine. Sorry about the fuzzy. And I'm not sure how it'll work, but if I have to do it, we're going to test it after using this lacquer. I'll run the cars and see if they slide off. If they stick on the track pretty good, I'm going to leave it. If not, this stuff right here has a very fine texture to it. And rubbing there on the cap is nice and just enough grip for these little HO cars. A lot of this textured paint has texture in it that's too big, and it doesn't work real well with these little cars. So that should give me some grip if I need it. I want to keep the track black for some reason. That's just, I don't know, it's kind of a thing I remember from childhood. Keep it black, and if I have to paint with that cement, I will. But otherwise, I'm going to try to proceed as I am. So yeah, that's it. That's what I've been up to. I did go through here and get rid of those little plastic supports and put in solid wood. So this is solid. I mean, I can lean on it if I want to. It's got to be solid and not flexed, because the plaster for the scenery is going to be able to crack if it moves, which is a concern of mine. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I've also found with these HO buildings, they're not all HO buildings, which the slot cars are actually 1/64th, HO's 1/87th scale. And the biggest problem I've seen is different brands of buildings just don't match up. I tried originally buying AHM buildings off eBay. Yeah, they're way too small. They're even too small by HO standards, honestly. So the Walters Cornerstones seem to be more appropriate for what I'm doing. The T-Jets are smaller scale. They look better next to those buildings. The extraction cars that I'm using as well is those Super 3s. They're too big, so they don't really look good on a scale size. Yeah, we'll do something else on that later. But that's kind of where I'm at. Which brings me up to another point of something I had to do, was those the T-Jets having the little post on them. I don't think I can find one here. Yeah, I can. Sorry for making you dizzy. See if I can get that up in there. There you go. The little post on the T-Jets really tests how that track runs. It goes over that slot right there, that joint. That little post, being thick and round as it is, will catch everything. The extraction car, see if I can get that little blade to, I got poor lighting here. There it is. The blade on the extraction car, see how worn that is from me testing that track. The blade on the extractions goes around these slots and these joints a lot easier than that T-Jet. So having both cars available to test this track, going both directions, inside and outside lane has been key to getting this track to run properly. It's been a lot of work, but it's been worth it. So a little bit of extra work has paid off. I can run full throttle around this little short track now and the car stay put. So that's a major improvement where I was, 2 months ago. So, all right, that's it for this one.